Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a brand new 12 pan palette that is launching today, the day this video is uploaded, Thursday, October 19th. This palette should be priced at $18 US, just based on the price of other similarly sized palettes. However, you will be able to use my affiliate code. It's just my first name, Amanda, and that should save you 10% on most things on the ColourPop site. Not everything. Sometimes special collections, definitely sale items, and also sets, kits, vaults, things like that will not take any codes, but this palette should accept discount codes. So if you're going to pick it up, you can use the code Amanda and that will save you a couple of bucks. I'm not sure if or when this will be at Ulta. Every time I say that in a video, somebody has seen them comment somewhere on social media the launch time. So I'm sure that somebody else has seen it. I haven't seen it, but I do expect that this will be at Ulta because the 11/11 palette is at Ulta and this is kind of on the heels of that release. So I'm expecting that it will be available at Ulta. I just don't know exactly when. Now, I'm trying my best to get this video out before the palette launches. That way you can see the swatches, the close-ups, and a bunch of comparisons. So I am going to try to quickly speed through a video for you. That way it's in a timely manner, but also has all of the info. So we're going to start with a close-up look at the palette first. Love the packaging. I think this is so pretty, ethereal. I love the little iridescence. It's cute, it's dreamy. I'm a big fan of this packaging. I really like it a lot more than I liked the 11/11 collection packaging, but that's just one gal's opinion. As is typical for ColourPop palettes, the artwork is similar, but the outer carton, the box that the palette comes in, has all of the ingredients listed on it, where the actual palette itself does not have the ingredients list. So I recommend hanging on to that if you're interested in ingredients, if you have sensitivities or whatever it may be. I'm a big fan of storing palettes in their boxes anyway. Also, I was noticing that my moonstone ring looks so similar to the shifty bluish iridescence on this. So it's no wonder that I'm drawn to it because moonstone is my favorite gemstone. And this definitely gives me moonstone vibes. As mentioned previously, there's no ingredients list on the actual palette, but there are the shade names on both the palette and the outer box. This is a cardboard packaging. It has a magnetic closure. There is no mirror inside this one. The Cloud9 palette has the larger size pans, the 26mm pans, so you could swap it around with Troublemaker, 11/11, you know, those palettes with the bigger pans, but it does not fit the smaller standard size pans that you would find in the small little 9 pans like Going Coconuts, or even in the mega palettes. Those have the smaller pans that used to be always standard in ColourPop. These are the bigger ones that they've expanded into more recently. This palette has 4 different finishes. There are 4 true mattes, 2 mattes with sparkle, 1 of their pearlescent glitters, which is just like the smaller particle pressed glitters, and then the remaining 5 shades are just their regular shimmer formula. I'm personally not a fan of the pearlescent glitters or the mattes with sparkle in them. So that's 3 shades that I'm already kind of feeling meh about. Maybe if it was just 1 or 2, it would be one thing, but that definitely puts me off just from the get-go. I will say I like the packaging more than I like the actual shades inside, which is kind of a shame. I wish there was a little bit more iridescence, a little bit more of a shifty vibe to some of these shades. I love a true neutral and a cool toned neutral, so I like the direction they're going here, and there are definitely some shades in here that I really like, but I do feel like the outer packaging is more exciting than what we see inside, especially because, at least on my skin tone, the first half of this palette really reads very, very similarly. On the eye, the first 6 or 7 shades are going to look so much alike. They will be indistinguishable, at least on me. Maybe on a deeper skin tone, they will have some more variability. But I just think that it falls a little bit flat when you see it swatched here. I will say that I think this palette is a nice companion to Troublemaker and the 1111 palette. 1111 is a lot warmer. You'll see a comparison later. And Troublemaker is a lot darker. So I think this is sort of like the lighter little cousin to Troublemaker. And maybe together they can offer each other a little bit of balance, I guess. For me personally, I prefer the Troublemaker palette. There's just a little bit more variety and a little bit more richness and spiciness. But if you are looking for a toned down version of that cool neutral color story, maybe this is the perfect thing for you. Let's jump into some comparisons now. First, starting with Twist of Slate. This is one of their 10-pan palettes that has little square pans inside. They did a very short-lived run of these. Maybe we'll see more of them in the future. Twist of Slate, aside from being a smaller palette, has a little bit more warmth. We see that bronze and the pinky shade there bringing some more warmth in. Definitely not a dupe status comparison, but you could probably get some pretty similar looks out of these two palettes if you tried. Next, let's talk about That's Taupe. This is a little bit warmer, more of just a brown undertone, whereas Cloud 9 is definitely more of a silvery and gray type of tone. Definitely not as much overlap as the Twist of Slate palette had shade by shade, but I think that these could make nice companions to one another if you have That's Taupe and you really are looking to cool it off and add a little silvery touch. Cloud 9 could be the companion palette you're looking for. Next, we have the Of Quartz palette. This was the first one that came to my mind when I saw this color story. And I also think that Of Quartz leans a little bit warmer and more brown-based in some of those colors, similarly to the That's Taupe palette. Obviously, we do have those last two shades that I think are very, very similar. And Of Quartz is giving us a little bit more gray. But at the end of the day, these two aren't as similar as I thought they would be in my brain. Now, the 1111 palette I know is not going to be similar, but I have a feeling that because this palette was recently released and because it is also a neutral palette, I think a lot of people are just going to be curious about the comparison. Not that it's dupeable. I don't think we have much in the way of one-to-one shade matches here, but I think it's an interesting contrast, and I think a lot of people are going to be curious about this one, so I decided to throw it in. Next up is one of my personal favorite ColourPop palettes. Again, I thought these were going to be more similar than they actually are. Last two shades are definitely giving us something to look at, but otherwise, Troublemaker has some pink and purple, whereas Cloud 9 is very, very neutral. And Troublemaker, while similarly very neutral and cool toned, is just a lot deeper across the board. And I think the silver shadow in Troublemaker is better than the pearlescent glitter or any of the silvers in Cloud 9. Just my personal opinion as somebody who is a bright silver metallic eyeshadow enthusiast. As usual, the heroes of my palette comparisons are the mega palettes. First is Rock Candy. This one is really similar. I know that it's not an exact match, but these are pretty much dupes. Close enough that I think eye looks would be all but indistinguishable. And I actually think that the Rock Candy comparison is just as good as the Stone Cold Fox palette comparison, if not a little bit better for some of the shades. Obviously, Stone Cold Fox has all the bases covered as far as cooler tones, neutrals goes. And once again, the silver shadow in Stone Cold Fox is also better than the ones in Cloud 9. So In my personal opinion, if you have Stone Cold Fox or Rock Candy, you definitely don't need Cloud 9. I think it serves better as either a starting off palette, so for somebody who doesn't already have some neutrals from ColourPop, or as a companion to some of the deeper or warmer palettes that I showed previously. I know a lot of people will ask for a Natasha Denona nude palette. I need a nude, or what, that don't they have a new one that's coming out that's all like gray and cool tones? I don't have any of those. I do not typically spring for the Mega Bucks Natasha Denona palettes, even though I know a lot of people love them. I'm sure they're great. I personally just don't feel compelled to buy those, so I can't do a comparison because I don't have them. But a lot more people are doing palette comparisons nowadays versus when I started doing these several years ago. So I'm certain you'll be able to find those somewhere in the wonder of the internet. Personally, I'm not crazy about the shades in here. I can see that this will be the type of palette a lot of people really love and use a lot, and that will be probably beloved by a lot of people. I just think that the packaging is cuter and more exciting than the actual eyeshadow shades, which is a little bit of a letdown for me. I think quality wise, it's fine. I don't hate it. I just don't need it. I'm not drawn to it and compelled to use it and feeling inspired by it like I am for the Troublemaker palette, for example. But that really just boils down to personal preference. So I would love to hear what you think about this palette. Are you interested in it? Do you see this becoming your everyday neutral staple? I always love to hear what you think about things too. So make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Love your face. Bye.